Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Kayla Lords
John Brownstone.
of Loving BDSM, back with another 5 things you ought to know fill-in topic. Here, we're talking about kinky scenes, because if you're watching this when it goes live, it's the month of love and lust, and while kinkiness and kinky fuckery and scening and sexy fun times can and should happen throughout the year, we know they tend to be top of mind as we get closer to Valentine's Day. So if you are planning your first scene or your first scene in a long time, or you've had a couple that maybe didn't go quite the way you pictured them, we're going to share our top 5 tips for what you need to know to have a good scene.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so before we get started, let's talk about what we mean by a kinky scene. Sometimes you hear this referred to as kinky scene, BDSM scene. We say kinky fuckery a lot.
Yep.
I did not know until many years after the books came out, 50 Shades of Grey is where that comes from. I would like to say I have reappropriated that term. Can you reappropriate?
Right.
Appropriate? I've taken it back. I've reclaimed it for us kinky people. No shade to 50 Shades. Anyway, so how do you define what this means?
I look at it as anything that encompasses a plan. For me, it's more of like an impact thing.
Right, but it's the thing you might do that you would claim as kinky. So it might involve sex, it might not. It can be an impact play scene in a dungeon. It can be bondage. It can be electroplay.
Wax play, anything of that.
Any of that.
Right.
And a scene sometimes makes you think of something like really, really detailed, and there's a lot going on, and you might even think of role play fantasy, and we're going to get into why that's one way to look at it. So, but it doesn't have to be. So that's what we mean when we refer to scenes.
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. Number 1, they can be really simple or really elaborate.
Remember a minute ago when I said they can be like detailed and planned and role play and there's a lot going on? Yes, you can go that far with your scene. You can like create a script if you want.
Oh, yeah.
But they can be as simple as bent over the bed, quick spanking. Like it's, the term is a catch-all phrase for some of the kinky stuff we do together.
Yeah. I mean, I saw a scene in a club one night that was very elaborate. It was a bottom and 2 tops. It was done as a interrogation scene.
Oh, yes.
Where they were, this bottom was technically a captured spy.
Oh, goodness. See, they can be, like, you can let your imagination go wild if that's what you want to do.
Yes.
Or, you know what? I call it a scene when John Brownstone gives me growly voice, tells me to get naked, and then spanks the hell out of me. It took a few minutes.
Yeah.
It was one act. It had no, like, real plan to it. Done.
Right. Number 2, there's no set amount of time required for a scene.
We get asked this a lot.
Yeah.
How long should our scene be?
How long do you want it to be?
How long do you need it to be?
Yeah.
It can be 10 minutes. It can be an hour. Now, if you are scening in a club or play party where the equipment and the space is shared with other people, there may be rules and restrictions and limitations.
Right.
So you have to follow that.
A busy night at a club, anywhere from 30 minutes to 45 minutes is generally the rule.
Right. And they might even have sort of house rules that say when it's not busy, you can play up to a certain amount of time, but you also need to be sort of aware that people might be waiting for the equipment. So, but yeah, as long as you need it to be is really the rule.
That's right. Number 3, have an idea of what the scene will be about.
So I said back in number 1, sometimes there's no real plan. That's true and not true. There needs to be some idea, and there needs to be at least an idea on the part of the top or the dominant who is going to be sort of navigating and driving the scene.
Sure.
If it is something more elaborate and it's sort of outside the realm of what you quote, typically do and already have consent for in your dynamic. Like bending me over the bed and spanking me, he can do that anytime he freaking wants. It's fine. We don't have to sit down and have a big conversation about it.
Yeah.
But if we wanted to do something much more elaborate, maybe that required role play, that required dialogue, that required something, even if I don't know all the details of it, because we want that element of surprise and anticipation, I need to have an idea of what's about to happen.
And sometimes it can be a subtle thing. There are times that I have taken out a flogger and a paddle and set it on, just innocuously set it on the bed. So when she walks into the bedroom, she sees him laid out and he's like, oh.
I think I know what's going to happen, sort of,
Right.
mostly. But as the dom or top, you also want to have at least an outline in your head of what you expect to happen. Now you, as the dominant around here, when you do that, is it a pretty loose, general kind of idea, or do you ever kind of get down into the details in your own head?
I don't. When we're at the club, I do kind of get down to the details. When we're at home, I know we're generally kind of limited. So it's just a matter of, okay, well, you know, we can do this real quick spanking scene, and, you know, I'll get out the one leather paddle, or, you know, be my hand, and it's just kind of is what it is.
Gotcha.
You know, at the club, I'm more thinking, well, okay, I'm going to start out with this and then transition to this, and then I can, you know, go around and do this with that, and
Gotcha.
kind of thing. Okay. Number 4, adjust the scene as needed.
This is primarily for doms and tops, but is also for submissives, because anything can happen.
Yeah.
So you might be in a bondage scene and a body part goes numb. Well, maybe you have to adjust a tie. Maybe you have to change position.
Right.
You could, and I mean this in the clinical sense of the word trigger, you could be in a scene with dialogue and role play, and something could be triggered for one of you. And in a very negative way, maybe
Right.
there's anxiety, maybe there's a memory, maybe there's something going on, and it changes the whole mood of everything. Well, you need to be willing and able to adjust. And sometimes an adjustment occurs through a safe word or a gesture or whatever your signal is to each other that, whoa, 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 stop. And sometimes, and again, you're the one with the most amount of experience, you see that you had this plan and now it's not quite going the way you thought it would.
Right.
Maybe my reactions aren't as positive as they usually are. Maybe for us, there's a lot of impact play and pain when we play, and so maybe I'm more sensitive to certain kinds of play, and not in a good way. So there's got to be a willingness to adjust to what's actually happening.
Absolutely, because at any given moment, you may do a scene at one time, and they may be perfectly happy with a caning and take everything you can throw at them. 2 weeks later, you're like, oh, I want to do that again. They may not be in the same headspace emotionally. They may have physical things going on at the time, and they're not able to take what was given. So you need to be able to adjust on the fly sometimes. Yes.
So either side of the slash, top, bottom, dom, sub, do not be so married to your plan that you can't be flexible, because real life will always interfere. The things you thought were going to be okay won't be okay. Bodies don't always cooperate.
No.
Minds don't always cooperate. Mental health will kick you in the butt when you least expect it. So just be flexible so that if the scene can even continue, sometimes it can't. Sometimes once that safe word's out, that's it. You got to stop. But if it can continue, it gets to a point, you finish it both feeling good about what happened, even if it didn't go according to your initial plan.
Right. And that brings us to number 5. Always discuss and get consent first.
Right. So there's a certain thing in long-term relationships where there's good communication and everybody's feeling good about the relationship, where there's pretty much, sometimes there's some level of ongoing consent. That doesn't mean you shouldn't still check in. Hey, how are you feeling about this? What's going on? I want to try something new. If a scene is more elaborate, or if it's something you haven't done in a long time, and maybe your partner, especially if you were the dom or top, your submissive or bottom partner is not saying, hey, when are we going to do this again? You need to check in and go, I have this in mind. What do you think about this? Are you up for this kind of play?
You don't need to drill down to every detail of the scene per se, especially if it's somebody whom you've played with on a regular basis and you know what their limits and boundaries are. But it's still good to say, hey, got this thing I'm planning for tonight. kind of a loose idea of what you're planning. Are you okay with this? Right. You know, consent should always be ongoing and enthusiastic.
And informed.
Yes.
So a lot of people, especially in longer term situations where you've played with somebody, whether that's in your long-term relationship or a play partner at the club, they'll get it into their head, well, we always play like this, or we frequently play like this, so I don't have to ask, I don't have to check in. And if you know, because of what they're already telling you, that they're enthusiastic about what you have planned, no, you don't. You can be a little bit more casual about it. But never assume that because somebody was all about something a week ago, that we're 100% good right now. It might be that they'd love to. They really want to do that thing, but they are going through a chronic pain issue that flares up on them from time to time, and they cannot handle that right now. Or maybe their mental health is not in the right place for that degradation scene you've got in your head. Always check in. There is this thought among a lot of people, both sides of the slash, that you'll give away the surprise or you'll take the fun out of the anticipation if you talk about these things first. Nothing ruins a good scene worse than a limit and boundary being crossed and something being triggered that you did not want to have triggered because you were surprised, because you didn't know this was even a possibility to be able to speak up and go, no, I can't do that today. So if you're not getting verbally or in some other way the very clear yes, when are you going to hit me with that paddle again? Hey, I want to negotiate this kind of scene with you. Hey, can we play like this? Or if you're not getting that, always go, hey, this is kind of what I had in mind. Where are we at on that? We good with that? Any concerns? Let's talk, let's chat. And both doms and subs, tops and bottoms, get to have their own limits. So if you're a bottom or a sub that's approaching somebody to negotiate play with them, do not assume that just because 2 weeks ago you played this way that they're going to be into it then either. Be prepared for the answer to be, I'll play, but I don't want to play like that. Exactly. That's okay. So communication, consent, always. And truly, even in a long-term relationship, sometimes that means as the sub or the bottom, you've got to speak up. If I walked into the bedroom and the floggers are on the bed and I knew exactly what that meant because we have that kind of relationship, we've developed that rapport and that trust, I have to be able to go, ooh, I see what you have planned here, and I'd love to, but I'm having a back spasm flare up. I have this migraine. I have this thing. Right. Can we do something different? Can we postpone this or not? I have to take responsibility for myself and make sure that I'm not putting myself or my partner into a position where we're about to have a really bad time, not because we didn't know and we surprised each other, oops, things happen, but because I didn't say something. I knew something was off with me and I didn't speak up. So that is just as much the responsibility of a submissive or bottom as it is a dom or top. Okay. So, gosh, did we just go into mom and dad lecture mode again?
I think so.
We want you to have good scenes. We want you to have the kinky fuckery that you want to have.
And have fun doing it.
And and you know what? A little bit of preparation ahead of time tends to make for a much more enjoyable scene later. So whether it's just been a while and you're getting back on the kinky fuckery BDSM scene horse, or you're doing maybe going to negotiate your first one with a new partner or out the club or whatever, try and incorporate these tips where they make sense to you. And if you have been scening and doing your kinky fuckery for a while and you've got other tips that you think folks need to know about, comment below. We love comments. We love learning from each other. And if you're like, yeah, okay, these tips are great, but what? I need more information on what the hell a kinky scene is and how the hell I do one and what? Do not worry. We have the hookup for you. Down below are as many things as we have said or written about kinky scenes as we've got. You can dive deep into the topic, educate yourself, learn more, and go forth and have good kinky fuckery.
There you go.
And believe me, you do not have to wait for a special random day like Valentine's Day. With a willing partner, get your kink on as you can when you can. That's what I say.
That's it.
Okay. So, if you learned something about kinky fuckery and kinky scenes and we didn't, you kind of liked what you heard, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel.
And hit that notification bell.
Just do what Daddy says. And if you really, really like what we do and all this stuff here, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/KaylaLords. Bye.